Welcome everyone to the Osher virtual open house. A little different this year, but we're safe, we're together. And this is our opportunity to gather and to learn about our fall offerings. So I want to thank you all for being here. For those of you that are joining us just now, or those of you that are watching this via video, thanks for tuning in and seeing us. I'm Lauren Andersen. I'm the director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Utah. And with me, I have our Osher staff. So I have Jill Meyer, our program coordinator. And I have, there we go. And I have Sheila Jacobson.
Hi, everybody.
She'll be hosting today. So she's the woman behind the scenes. And then I have Emily Miller, who many of you may not have met. She's our new program coordinator.
Hi.
So thanks everyone for being here. This is the great team that's making things happen behind the scenes, that helps coordinate events and courses and responds to your emails. So while you don't always see them, it's always good for us to acknowledge the great work they do. We certainly wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for each of them. So what I want to talk about today is Osher and our fall term. It is going to be a great term. We have today with us several of our instructors. We're going in alphabetical order, and they're all instructors that have agreed to teach this fall. Normally when we do an open house, we have a big presentation, we have cookies, we have coffee, we have snacks and drinks, and we have our Osher instructors that give you an hour of their time and share what they'll teach for you this fall. With COVID-19, we knew that we couldn't meet this year, so we decided we'd do this virtually and that we would see everybody online. So today we have a chance for each of our instructors to give a quick preview of what they will be teaching this fall. We're going to do this today and we're going to do this tomorrow. So if you don't see your instructor today, chances are they're logging in tomorrow. You also see their course description and their syllabus on our website, so you can always go to the website for more information. This video will be recorded. It's streaming live to Facebook right now, and we will have it on our Osher Open House website as well, probably by Friday. And Osher registration is on Friday as well at 9 a.m. So be sure to log in and register for classes. So this has been quite a journey to go from where we were in the beginning of 2020 to August 5th, 2020. I will say that in early March, I knew that we wouldn't be able to safely meet in classes, and so we made the decision to move online. And it was a big decision. Not all of us thought that this could happen, that Osher members would be willing to meet online. I actually had somebody tell me, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Osher won't continue to meet. But here you all are. It's been amazing because we've had over 900 enrollments in the few months that have led up to this fall term. So we had over 300 people join us in the spring term, and we had over 600 people join us for classes this summer. So while some people said Osher members can't do it, you all proved them wrong, from the instructors to the students. And so we want to thank you for continuing to be curious, to be excited about learning, and to say, this is something I really value. We value you, and so we were excited that you said the same about us. And I wanted to say I'm really thankful for everyone. When we came with the idea of meeting online in March, I know a lot of people thought, I don't know if this is going to work. And I wanted to thank everybody that said, yeah, I'll give it a try. And then I want to thank everybody that encouraged us along the way and said, this actually isn't too bad. The number of people who told me this was a solid B. You know, it wasn't our A game where we were in class and we got to see everybody and react to everybody, but this was a solid B. Thank you for that encouragement. We needed that. This was as daring for us as it was for you. So thank you. And then today, we're going to spend time talking to instructors. What's going to happen is Sheila's going to put up some slides with a brief overview of each person's class. And the instructors that are with us today are going to take some time to share what they're teaching. We're going in alphabetical order. We are planning on having everybody with us, but if somebody's not here, then you're gonna get me, your MC for today, reading the slides and answering some questions. We'll have time for some Q&A at the end. So our goal is to finish the presentations around 11:10, and then we'll have some time for question and answers. Those questions will be fielded by staff and Jill, who's been working closely with the instructors on their classes. So we'll be able to answer some questions about classes, as well as questions about how does this work online? What do I need to join a class online? How are we doing special events online? All of those things we can answer today. And if you don't see who you want to hear from today, log in tomorrow because we've got a whole other set of great instructors. Okay, I went really fast on that. I was given 10 minutes and I am already ahead of schedule. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the other things we're offering. So classes are meeting online. We have special events that are meeting online and face-to-face. Most of our stuff is online, but there are a few special tours that will be able to meet while people wear masks and socially distance. We also have a couple classes that will be meeting face-to-face. We will be wearing masks. We will be socially distanced. There will be hand sanitizer in buildings and classrooms. We're doing everything we can to keep students safe. And then of course, if things change, you'll get notices from us as well. So right now, the university's in an orange phase, but if things change and we have to go back to red, you'll hear from us. This is something that we're committed to do for you, keep you safe, observe all the protocols we need to do to stay safe as a university and keep people safe. And so you'll see if you're meeting face-to-face that people are separate, people are wearing masks, we're encouraging washing hands, and then we are telling people to stay home if they are feeling ill. And that's instructors and that's Osher students as well. Those of you that haven't joined us online for a Zoom class yet, it's a great experience. You get to be home, so the comfort of your home. You don't even have to use your camera all the time. So occasionally you'll see me in a class with a toddler running around alongside me. Things can happen and you can turn off your camera, you can turn off your microphone, and you can tend to something else. So this has been a good opportunity for us to continue to offer classes and continue to offer discussion. Something we've learned is that it's not just about class, it's about seeing your friends, the people you normally see in the commander's house or in our continuing education building, you can see through Zoom. And so we usually open up a class a little bit before and we stay a little bit after if people want to have a conversation and catch up. We have Zoom training sessions. So Sheila, who's behind the scenes today, offers Zoom training sessions. So if you've never tried Zoom and you need some help, we have some special events. They're included in your membership. They're listed on our website right now, and Sheila can help you and other Osher members learn how to use Zoom so you feel comfortable using it in class. And then for the most part, we're recording today, but we don't typically record our classes. We typically let them happen live. We want you to be there. We want you to be present. Occasionally for a student or an instructor, we will record, but that is something we announce at the beginning of the class and make sure that people are comfortable with that. We have it just be the student, or not the student, the instructor that is spotlighted in that recording. And we do not sell them. They are just for people who have signed up for the class. So while we're recording this one, we don't record them all. All right, so the last thing I want to say is this fall is going to be a longer fall. We're used to meeting physically for 6 weeks. This fall, we're going to go from August through November. We're going to stop right before Thanksgiving. And we're going to do that so we can offer more classes and so we can keep you engaged and engaged from the safety of your home. So I'm going to kick it off. I am the first instructor to go, having a last name Andersen. Puts me at the top of this list. So I'm gonna go right into the class that I'm offering this fall, and then we're gonna hear from some other instructors that have joined us. And so My class this fall is Women Diversity in the U.S. Supreme Court. Many of you don't know, but in a previous career, I was an attorney, and I specialized in appellate law, argued cases before the Ninth Circuit and the Supreme Court of the United States. Yep, I'm old enough to have done that. And so one of my passions has always been studying the US Supreme Court and the Supreme Court justices. When you make a case before a justice, it's good to know who they are. And so I spent last year talking about Justice Ginsburg, who I love, and I thought this year I could talk about women on the Supreme Court and diversity on the Supreme Court. So not just Sandra Day O'Connor or Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or even Sonia Sotomayor, but other diverse justices and the diversity that they bring in their decisions. So some of their decisions are based on law and then personal experience, because often the law is not just what the law says, but how you've seen the law applied. And depending on your diversity and your background, you'll have a different opinion on how law has been applied. So we'll talk about Sandra Day O'Connor. We're going to give her 2 lectures because there's a lot of good stuff. We'll talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's got 6 lectures, but we're going to shorten it down to 1 since many of you have probably already taken that class from me. We'll talk about Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Justice Elena Kagan, and then I'd like to spend some time talking about Justice Thurgood Marshall, as well as some of the other justices that were diverse for the backgrounds that they brought to the court for the first time or second time. So that is what I have planned, and I hope you'll join me. We meet on Mondays, and it'll all be online. So I hope to see you, and you can sign up on Friday. So with that, we're going to hand it over to Anne. Do we have Anne with us? Are you with us, Anne?
Yep.
All right, Anne, take it away.
All right. I am Ann Asman. I am the Director of Advancement and Outreach for the Department of Psychiatry. I am also a gerontologist and am very, very passionate about aging, which is something that we do every minute of every day. So I've been teaching a class called Embrace Aging, and I've also taught a class called The Aging Brain. But since our lives have sort of morphed over the last 6 months, it's going to be closer to 7 or 8 months by the time I teach the class, I've decided to maybe frame the dynamics of the class a little bit differently in terms of the content. And I'm going to try to relate some of the things that happen as we age with what's going on now and how that is affecting us as we age. And it's pretty dynamic in some cases, and in some cases it's really not particularly impactful. So we're going to look at embracing aging in an uncertain time. I would like to start, I think it's really important that we understand the biology of the aging brain. The brain ages from literally the time that you're born until the day that you pass. So it's not anything that is unique to anyone. We all age. And so the first part of the class is usually connected to the biology of the aging brain and how it affects the risks for cognitive impairment, but also there are a lot of other risks, and contrary to popular belief, the brain is actually connected to the rest of the body, and the rest of the body can't actually function without the brain, and the brain can't actually function without the rest of the body. So we're just all really one big cluster of organs, and the brain is one of them. Also to discuss a little bit about the definition of dementia and about the different dementias that there are. There are many of them, over 165 that have been, believe it or not, that have been recognized and diagnosed, although many of them are overlapping. And also about risk. I know people who have had a relative who have dementia of any kind become very concerned about whether or not they're going to have dementia. And I just read an article yesterday where the incidence of dementia is actually declining in the United States. So I'm going to have to look a little more into that information, which is really, really good information and good news. Also about managing illness, mental and physical illness as we age, and talk a little bit about aging research and what the research shows about healthy aging and how we can age healthy. Also about the role of the family and caregivers as we age. Although we all think we're invincible, and I think we begin to feel that as much as we did when we were a teenager or a young adult as we get older. And sometimes that may or may not be the best scenario for the reality of our situations. And then a little bit about how to address and plan for our end of life, which is imminent. When it occurs is probably not up to us. So it's nice to have a plan in place and determine what is important and what's not important. And also a little bit of information about the identification of community resources for the aging population, which are unfortunately often well-kept secrets. Although with the response to COVID and the issues that older adults are facing during this time, community resources have really become at the top of the list, where people are really beginning to reach out, understanding that there is a lot going on, whether you're living at home with your family or whether you're living alone, or whether you're living in a facility. There are some issues that are occurring now, such as isolation, the fact that people cannot necessarily come and go as they have done in the past. And how do we identify, how do we feel about this? How do we work out some of these issues? And then another area that we're going to talk about a little bit, which I haven't done in the past, but it's really come up a lot during COVID. And that is this sense of ageism, where I'm sure you've heard stories. There were some horrible things that were said originally about sacrificing the older population in favor of the younger population at the beginning of all of this. There's also been a lot of miscommunication about the incidence of COVID, and yes, older adults are more apt to pass away from COVID, but they are not the highest incidence of COVID. Excuse me. And how does this fit into the dynamic and the paradigm of ageism? So I'd like to get into a little more of a discussion about that. I hope that this will be an interesting topic. I promise you, it's not scary. It's actually a lot of fun. And I think that people who have taken the class in the past will agree that you'll learn a lot. You can pass it on to your friends and to your family. And that we're all at a point in our life where there's something new to learn, even about our aging. So I look forward to seeing you in my class. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Anne. This is great. We're going to go on to Phyllis Barber's class, Writing Your Life. Phyllis isn't able to be here today. She is going to send us a video, but you can go online and check out her syllabus. She teaches memoir writing, and previous students have said that she is the person that gave them the motivation she needed to finish. So with that, we're going to go into meeting Tina, and she's going to talk to us about digital treasures at the Salt Lake County Library.
Oh, cool.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tina Bartholoma. I'm a senior librarian with the County Library in Salt Lake. We will be talking about digital treasures. A lot of us have found in the last few months that we are doing things more online. We're watching shows online, we're reading books online. Everything is happening more in a digital environment. But I know I've found in my own life that I can only afford so many subscriptions. I just can't pay for everything that interests me. And luckily, the library is there to help. And so we will be talking about digital treasures that you can access with your library card. And I want to just show you some of the things we'll be talking about in session A and then in session B. So let me share my screen. Okay. So I am hoping you can see that. If you can't, let me know. Our resources are available on the countylibrary.org, and are in our first session A, Digital Treasures at the County Library. We're gonna start with talking about e-magazines using the Flipster service, and you can see we've got access to Crochet World, shooting, survival, log home, carcraft, just a huge number of magazines that you'd be able to access on a digital device. So a smartphone, a tablet, or on a PC. The next thing we're gonna be talking about are ebooks, downloadable audiobooks, and streaming TV. So here's our Overdrive source. The County Library in Salt Lake has the largest collection of ebooks and audiobooks in the state. And so we have a lot to choose from. We'll be showing you how to sign in, create an account, and download these ebooks to your device, or to stream some of these videos, or download and listen to one of these audiobooks. Not everything's on Overdrive, so we also have what's called RB Digital, which will be, it used to be called recorded books. If you're an audiobook listener, that will sound familiar to you. And they also have audiobooks, ebooks, and some really great free accounts. So you get 3 weeks of access to services such as Acorn TV, the Spanish Pongalo Novella Club, which is all Spanish TV. And then I think this is the hidden treasure that I discovered when I was starting to teach this class. And this is Quello Concerts. And I have just loved discovering the concerts and music, the things that we aren't able to attend in person right now, but we can view them right from our screen. So I've really enjoyed getting to see some of these past concerts right from the comfort of my own home. So that's kind of what we'll be covering during the first session, session A. During session B, which is entitled More Digital Treasures from the County Library, we'll be going more with themed material. So once again, we'll be on the website, but we'll be talking about some of our long list of resources in more of a themed format. So for example, if you are into crafting, we have a new resource called The Creative Bug, which is now available. We also have some other hobbies and crafting databases. We'll be talking about our Chilton and our EBSCO auto repair and small engine repair resources. We'll be covering some medical resources for Medline Plus, Medline, and some other medical sources. And these are premium sources that if you were trying to access them just from like a Google search, you would not get results for these premium resources. These are all resources that have already been paid for, and you get a free account with your library card. We'll also be talking about genealogy resources, ancestry, heritage quest, some of these premium resources that once again, you need your library card to access. And we'll also be talking about travel. So if your hobby is travel, we'll be talking about how to do some armchair traveling using library resources. So using the resources is what's really the fun part. But what we'll be talking about in the class is a little more boring. We'll be talking about what information you need to create an account, how to log in, and how these resources differ from one another. So we'll go step by step and get you hooked up with all of the entertainment, all of the learning opportunities. We'll also be sharing things about free online classes. I know if you're an Osher user that you already are really starting to embrace these online classes. So the library also has free universal class online. We have lynda.com online and other resources that are more about learning as well as the things about entertainment. And that's all I have.
Great. Thanks so much, Tina. This is really a treasure chest. We've got a lot of great things, so thank you for sharing them with us. And with that, we're going to move on to Charles Boynton. Charles is not with us today, but he teaches Shakespeare for us, and his classes are The War of the Roses. You can see a list of the plays that he has. Charles is one of our great instructors that encourages you to read out loud and really gets into the plays with you. So he's got The War of the Roses and the Sonnets. He's been a longtime Osher instructor and has really been somebody that people love to learn Shakespeare from. So we hope that you'll sign up for Charles' class. With that, we're going to hand it over to Tim Chambless, and Tim's going to talk to us about current issues in American public affairs and politics.
Well, hi everybody. Good morning. I am Tim Chambless. I've been teaching for Osher since January 2007. September 1st will be my 48th class for Osher. I teach a dynamic class, current issues in American public affairs and politics. I know Osher students are lifelong learners who want to avoid ignorance. This current issues class is unique. The class considers any controversial subject. This class encourages dialogue, critical thinking, group brainstorming. Each week, we will dialogue on important current issues, including, and I'm going to share the screen here, the 2020 presidential campaign.
The screen's not sharing.
Yeah.
The screen's not sharing.
Okay. Hopefully we are sharing the screen.
We've got the screen. We've got it.
Got the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. The 2020 presidential campaign, we're down to 90 days now before November 3rd. And we'll consider it both nationally and its impact here in Utah. The U.S. Senate and U.S. House races nationwide, and also Utah's 4 House races for Congress. This year's significant U.S. Supreme Court decisions. Like Lauren, I love U.S. Supreme Court decisions, and we'll consider those this year of 2020. Utah's political campaigns for governor and Congress. They are lively and highly contested. Utah's struggle with COVID-19 and reopening Utah's schools. Very controversial. Utah's struggling economy, the recession we are in, and the deepening depression in many areas. And I don't have slides for this, the sudden surprises, the news stories that demand discussion that hit us on a daily basis, the surprises. We need to discuss them. The emerging public surprises we must try to understand. Please join me. Let's brainstorm important current issues. Let's learn together. I'm Tim Chambless, and I am still learning. I hope to see many of you beginning September 1st, Tuesday at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. It is a great discussion class. We've all been able to attend one of Tim's classes and sign up. It is a great discussion. Next, we have Stacey Cole. She'll be talking to us about singing for fun and well-being. Do we have Stacey? Are you with us, Stacey?
Hi.
Hi, Stacey. There you are. Yep.
Great. And if is this full screen right now? Because we don't. Yeah, we're good.
We're good. Yep.
Okay. I can't tell anymore. And I also had. Boy, this changes my whole screen. Here we go. This changes everything. Here we go. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. Darling, stand by I'm Stacey, and this is my husband, Brett. Hi. Brett will be joining us for a lot of our classes. He plays the guitar and loves to sing, but right now he needs to head off to his home office for work. So
See you later.
I'll see you later, honey. Okay, so singing for fun and well-being is exactly that. Gosh, it's good for lifting the spirits, and it's good for the brain, for the lungs, the circulation, and even posture. So each week we will be singing about 10 different songs, and you'll receive a PDF file with all of the lyrics. And over the course of 5 weeks, we'll sing about 50 different songs. And you'll learn some wonderful, gentle, physical and vocal warm-ups for supporting the voice for singing. Plus, you'll receive some tips on how to take care of your voice. As we age, that old saying, use it or lose it, applies when it comes to the voice. Whether it's our speaking voice or our singing voice, we need to be using it. And what better way than singing? So let's have fun together, and I look forward to singing with you. Thanks.
Stacey, that was great. I was not expecting a performance. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to have Marcie Collett join us. Marcie, you with us?
Yep. Hello.
Hey, hi, Marcie.
Hi. Hello. Okay. I'm Marcie. I'm with the Salt Lake Film Society. And
Marcie, we don't have your video. Can you turn on your video?
yep. How's that? Oh, there we
Great.
go.
Yay.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
So beginning in 2019, thanks to some friends and fellow cinephiles, Osher started hosting a movie club. And in 2019, we had some phenomenal moments in the Broadway theater. In the summer, we watched life-changing documentaries, and we were able to have the subjects of the film and filmmakers, like from Quiet Heroes, the documentary, award-winning documentary about Utah during the AIDS crisis. That was a phenomenal moment. And then we also had spectacular moments watching award season at the end of the year in November and December. So we were planning to do that again this year, but watching movies in a theater is such a inspirational and wonderful event that we can't really do right now. So Osher thankfully pivoted their sponsorship so that we could watch movies together online. And we're in a really interesting time in that so much is available online for us to watch. Movies, series, it's really a golden age, a spectacular time. It's the streaming wars. The different platforms are just competing so heavily. There's great content out there. But what we don't have is the chance to watch things together, to have that communal cinematic moment together. So it was, I feel kind of guilty that I get to host this movie club because I'm really doing it as much for myself as I am for the Film Society or for Osher or for any of you. I'm a raging extrovert and I love movies, and I just am the luckiest person in the world that I get to see movies at the Broadway and the Tower every day. And I'm just desperately missing that experience. So having this experience online, to be able to watch movies together online, has just been, transformative for me. And I think for those folks who miss that communal cinematic movie experience, even though you can watch so much on your own online, but to watch it together is really special, especially during pandemics and earthquakes and social movements, as the other instructors have talked about. Like it's so timely to be able to come to a class, see a movie, and talk about what's going on in the world in real time. And one of the most special moments we had in our movie club recently was watching the John Lewis Good Trouble documentary all together during the week that he passed. So it's just so wonderful to have these moments. Salt Lake Film Society has started to offer films, independent documentary, international films that aren't necessarily available on the other platforms, on Netflix or Hulu. And in this way, we get to support independent films that are not getting the attention or the box office revenues and that sort of thing that other things are, the other big name movies are getting attention on Netflix, Disney, and all of that. We also are watching some really fun movies. Never, Rarely, Sometimes. It was a British one with Bill Nye, which was really entertaining. We also watched some music documentaries on Ella Fitzgerald and Up From the Streets about the New Orleans music scene. So it's just really so fun and fantastic. And and we get to share what our favorite things are. So there's a lot of conversation about, oh, I saw this movie on this platform. I'm also doing monthly free or guides to local and free events, because there's a lot of things that are available for free if you don't have the usual streaming services. So, and I'd really encourage everybody to go to slfsathome.org and watch Traveling While Black. That is a virtual reality free movie that we're showing right now that is so timely and relevant and really inspiring. So I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'll see you at the movies.
Thanks, Marcie. We really enjoy having you teach for us, and it is a class you won't find anywhere else. The discussion he offers is fantastic. So thank you. We're going to go on to Paul. Paul, you with us?
Hello.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Good.
Oh, you're muted. I need to unmute you on your end. You're muted on your end. There you are.
Okay, could be fine. Good morning. This is a class, Policing in America, which we actually started several years ago, primarily in response to a lot of questions about the unfortunate situation with the death of McCloskey at the University of Utah. And with my background, I spent 30 years in law enforcement at the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office, retiring as a chief deputy, and then going into city management in South Jordan City, where I was the human resources director and then the assistant city manager. And in my portfolio, the police chief reported to me. So I've had a lot of experience with police as an employee and a street officer, and even more as a manager and a policymaker. And this is very timely given what's happening in our country. We're going to look back at this time. This is one of those major opportunities for policing to make a step forward. And I want you to know that most professional police are very much enthusiastic about an opportunity to rethink their role in society and to clarify what the rules of engagement are. I will tell you that police respond to training. And once you change the training over time, the police officers change the way their behavior operates. And as we know from reading the news this week, Salt Lake City has made some significant changes in policy about the use of force. And we're going to talk about that in our class. A couple of things we're going to try and do in our class is talk about the evolution of the role of police in the United States, which is somewhat different than many other countries. We do not have a real national police here. It's primarily local, and that has some good aspects and some bad aspects. We're also going to talk about who becomes a police officer, what that process involves, what the rules are for police, both legally and from a policy perspective. We're going to talk about the police use of force. We're going to watch some video, and some of it will be very hard video to watch. Some of the shootings you're going to see are legal and we're in policy, and we're going to see some use of force that's outside policy. We're going to talk about why we say it's inside or outside policy. Police would call them righteous shootings. Righteous meaning that it complied with the law and it complied with policy. And we're talking about police terminology, police jargon, what do police mean when they say certain kinds of things, and that. We've had the opportunity in the past to talk about corrections. I've decided that this time we're going to take an entire week and talk about the list of reforms that are being debated. Everything from defunding the police to increasing accountability and transparency, changing policies, changing recruitment and training, and defunding the police. What on earth does that mean? Does it mean we're not going to have a police department? Does it mean the police have too much money? Does it mean we don't fund enough social services in our community? The most important part of our class is that we're going to spend about 30 minutes of each hour-and-a-half class talking about whatever we've read about in the news. So we're looking forward to having that discussion, and I'll see you all then.
Thanks, Paul. This is an incredibly timely topic, and we're so glad to have you with us. So Marla, we're going to move on to you for Live Free of Clutter and Get Organized at Last. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Marla. You're ready to go. Can you hear us, Marla? We can hear and see you. Can you hear us, Marla?
Hello.
Oh, you're on. Can you hear us?
Okay, now I can hear.
Okay, go ahead, Marla. Glad we've got you. Go ahead and share your class with us.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Hello, everyone. My name is Marla D. I'm the creator of the clear and simple way to get free of clutter, get organized so that you can love your space and live your life. I've got to teach for Osher for a couple of years now. It's my all-time favorite teaching experience. I have been what's called a professional organizer for 20 years. And what that means is I have been in a hell of a lot of homes and offices and seen a lot of pain. So I'm super excited to teach these classes for Osher. I've got two. I'm going to talk about both of them. So the first one is Live Free of Clutter and Get Organized at Last. What I'd like to say to all of you is if clutter clearing was easy, the piles wouldn't be there. If you knew how to organize already, your space would reflect that. But it's not. It's not easy. And since only 10 to 12% of the human population on the planet Earth is born with the organizing gene, most people don't know where to start, what to do, or how to keep it up. So what I'm going to teach you in this class is systems that actually teach you the skill. And these systems can be used on any size project, from your junk drawer to your entire garage or your clothes closet. And what we'll do in the class is you'll pick a project, you'll actually complete the project because I want you to have that feeling of success. And then we'll celebrate. I'll also share with you my very best resources and tools to continue the journey. So I'm hoping that when you leave at the end of 6 weeks, you're now ready for the next project. Our next one is about paper. From paper pain to power. So in my 20 years as an organizer, the greatest area of pain that I have seen in homes and offices is the paper piles. And I have a fun little statistic to share. I was doing some research this morning. Do you know it was August 6th of 1991, so 29 years tomorrow, that the World Wide Web was launched to the general public. And all of a sudden, information was everywhere. We have more paper, more info than we know what to do with. It's way more than any human being can handle. And because it's all new still to our existence and our life, you know, most of us lived through that time frame, we don't have systems in place to handle it. So it comes into the home, it lands wherever it lands, it takes over the home, and chaos ensues. So what I'm going to teach you in this class is, once again, some specific systems so that when you leave, you'll have a physical piece in place for your incoming paper, for your incoming email, how to process it, how to get the work done, where to put it, what leaves your space now and how it leaves your space, and then what you actually need to archive and how to maintain that. It's going to be so much fun. I'm actually a part of a minority of organizers who loves working with the paper. When I was a little girl, I played office, love office supplies. So I can promise you guys that if you take one or both of these classes, I will do everything in my power to make it fascinating and fun for you. There will be a lot of real life scenarios, a lot of visual, a lot of hands-on. I will have you work alongside me. So I hope that you join me. And with that, I'll turn it back to Lauren. Thanks.
Thanks, Marla. And I can say not only is Marla excellent at doing this, she is kind. She makes this very approachable and not, it can feel like a very emotional thing, and she recognizes that and helps you through it. So
no judgment.
No, thank you so much, Marla. We look forward to your class. We are having some issues getting Ephraim Dickson online. So I'm going to take Ephraim's next slide. Ephraim's joining us to teach exploring the Lakota Sioux history. And Ephraim had taught for us for several years before I came to Osher, and then moved. And he is now the Chief of Museum and Media at Yosemite National Park. So he'll be joining us from California. If any of you did any of the Osher explorations last year, Ephraim came back to lead those. He's a wonderful instructor. I think this is a topic that many of us that live in the West are fascinated by, and he does it very well. So we will have Ephraim and sign up for that class on Friday. Next, we have Christoph Dressler, and Christoph's going to talk to us about 2 classes. I can't see or hear you, Christoph. There you are. Hi, Christoph.
Hi, everyone. How many Osher members are out there right now with us?
Over 100.
Oh my God, this is awesome. Let me pull up my PowerPoint, as everything, of course, changed again. Are we okay for me to share my screen?
Yep, you are all set to do that.
Okay, I need to move you over. I have 2 screens. Believe it or not, everyone out there, I'm doing these webinars for Go Learn. If you don't know me, my name is Christoph Dressler, and I work also at Continuing Education. And I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm doing this all the time. And I'm on the back side of things. And usually I'm not a presenter on the front end. So let me see if I go in. I'm just having problems pulling you up on a full screen, Lauren. So is Sheila able to, here we go.
There we go.
And I share my screen now. I apologize for the delay.
We got it. Thanks, Chris.
All right. So hello, everyone, again. I'm usually working for Go Learn. I usually travel, and I'm an ex-tour guide. I grew up in East Germany, and I'm striving to unpack German history for you. For those who have been in my class before, they know I bombard you with slides. I tell you what to expect. I go through the history of, we started, the prehistoric German tribes. We go all the way to the Middle Ages. We follow through with the 30-Year War, then Germany from 1871 to World War II.
Christoph,
Yeah?
can you change your display settings? We're seeing the presenter view. Can you shift that?
Oh. That is a...
If not, this is okay. It's just small.
Huh. Yeah. It is strange. Because once I'm in the...
Keep going.
So you see this right now, correct?
Yes. So we see just the title. There you go. That's great.
So we'll do it this way. I apologize. We had all of this already on the slide. So what we're trying to do in this class is to, get to some fundamental questions of who we are as Germans. We go all the way back to prehistoric times. We will strive to, yep, and there we go. A fence fight in the backyard. We will talk about events that are, shaping European history just like it does today, like the disasters of war, plague, and schisms, the schisms in the history. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the 30-Word War, the revolutions of 1848. We will talk about one of my favorite characters, Bismarck, and his policies. We will discover how World War I came about, the Communist Party, which then also after the fall of the Third Reich plays a major role in Germany, as you know. We'll talk about how this all happened in World War II. And we're talking about a concept called Vergangenheitsbewältigung. The Germans are very much working on their past, especially of World War II. And this is the memorial of the murdered Jews in Berlin, a very moving monument. And if you've ever been to Berlin, this is a great place to visit. We will talk about the Berlin Wall, life in East Germany, how the wall came down. And then I will also have a winter class called Tales of Six Cities. Here we go to Berlin, Prague, Vienna, Rome, Paris, and London. And what this is basically a tour guide sort of view, one presentation at a time of each of these cities, a historic overview, and also really to excite you, inspire you to travel again once we are able to travel. We'll forge connections throughout Europe in this way. Here you see Napoleon in Berlin at the Brandenburg Gate. In fact, he took this the quadriga with him to Paris. So these cities are all interconnected. Here's Prague. We will be able to talk about the Middle Ages a lot and the Holy Roman Empire. We will talk about Vienna and its founding as one of the outposts for the Roman Empire. We will talk about people who shaped each of these cities. Here, Mozart and Freud, who also shaped our cultural and intellectual understanding. We'll have some trivia and some sites. We venture to Rome. We will, again, do all of this as if we're strolling the city. I'll introduce you to some of my favorite places. Here, the Pantheon. Here, the Sistine Chapel. We are going to Paris and then making connections. Here's the Arc de Triomphe. What does the Arc de Triomphe have to do with Rome, for instance? We will find that out. We will introduce the city to you in a way that you can navigate it. These are the arrondissements and how to walk through the city and discover places such as the Pantheon, or in this case, our good old friend Napoleon, of which I make a lot of fun of. And we'll strive to do all the museums and introductions. And again, bringing things home. Here's Charlemagne on his horse right outside of Notre Dame. And his crown that you see on him is now in Vienna. So, and we will talk about London. That's our last city. Again, an outpost of the Roman Empire. And we will introduce the city to you. The Tower of London and many other sites. What does it have to do with the Germans, for instance? Here's Prince Albert of Saxon-Coburg-Gotha. And we will hopefully get to some of the parliamentarian and political issues of all of these cities. So here we've got Big Ben and the Parliament of London. So that concludes my little presentation, and I hope I see you in class.
And Christoph does a great job. He didn't say it, but he not only runs our travel program in continuing ed, it's the alumni travel program at the University of Utah, and he was a Rick Steves travel guide. So he knows his stuff, and these are great explorations to Germany and 6 cities. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan Duncan. I can see we've got Jonathan. So Jonathan, take it away and tell us about the geography of Buddha. I can't hear you. You're muted on your end. Can't hear you, Jonathan. I can't hear you, Jonathan. Can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, am I muted?
Now you're good. Now
okay. All right, yeah, so I originally taught this class on the history of photography 20 years ago at the Art Institute of Portland. And if you think about what's happened in terms of photographic technology and the diffusion of the still image throughout our world, we now live in a world where everything is photographed. We all have cameras in our pockets, but this class is not a traditional art history class. I think it's even more fascinating. It's more sociology, psychology, a study of consciousness. It's the idea of how photography changed the way we look at the world, the way we view aesthetics, the way we view history. I used Susan Sontag's book, on photography as one of the course texts. And in that book, she says, photography is the ideal arm of consciousness in its acquisitive mood. And so there's some deep, kind of undercurrents in terms of the way that this art form and this technology has transformed the way we think and the way that we view history and what we think of as being beautiful and what we think of as being photogenic. We talk about cultural safaris. And I do illustrate it lushly with, a lot of the photographs over the last 150 years. If you don't know me, I am the professor of adventure media and photography down at Westminster College. And I've been teaching here at Osher, with great enthusiasm for the last 3 years. This is one of my favorite things to do with my time. And so I hope you would join me for the history of photography. The other class is, do you have another slide? The geography of Buddha, and this will be the 4th time I've taught the geography of Buddha through Osher, and each time it just gets better in my reckoning. One of my passions in life is, documenting the sacred mountains of the world, and I've made over 10 trips into the Himalayas in Nepal, India, Tibet. Most recently, I traveled through Sikkim. I've been through Ladakh. I've been through the Solukhumbu, Mount Everest, Annapurna. And so what I've done is I've compiled a very visual exploration of the way the mountain landscapes of the Himalayas have informed and transformed Buddhist philosophy. Each week we visit a particular destination within the Buddhist Himalaya. We study the texts, the teachings, the Dharma, and it's a very poetic and visual class. And there's plenty of opportunity for give and take in terms of if you bring questions that you're curious about how this particular idea within Buddhist philosophy came to be. But so I think of it as a little bit of a travelogue, a little bit of a class on philosophy, a little bit of mythology, and a lot of kind of poetic back and forth. And as I said, I taught this class, right at the beginning of the lockdown after the pandemic, and we spent 6 weeks, and this was a refuge for all of us. It's a class that is deeply felt and deeply experienced, and I hope you have an opportunity to join us. And if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. So we have the history of photography coming up and the geography of Buddha, and that's what I have to offer. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Jonathan. And I had the opportunity to help facilitate the Geography of Buddha class, and the images are fantastic. And it was a really serene experience for me. So thanks for that, Jonathan.
No, you're so welcome, Lauren. All right, everybody. Thanks
Bye.
for your time.
And we're going to go to Geraldine Johnson. She's teaching music appreciation. And so here you go, Geraldine. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and thanks for moving me up. I'm sorry I left work to come do this, but I really wanted to introduce my course. Especially since I'm new to the Osher Institute. I recently moved to Sandy from Boston, where I got a master's degree from the Boston Conservatory in Music Performance with an emphasis in oboe. And I've always been fascinated by music history, so I'm very excited to be able to revisit some of my favorite composers with you. In music appreciation, we'll be time traveling via music. We'll begin with a brief overview of the foundations of Western music and how the musical notation system was developed. Then we'll delve into specific works by Bach and Mozart, Beethoven, all the greats. We will listen to their music in class, We'll talk about what makes their music sound the way it does. And then we'll use their music and the music of their contemporaries to discuss broader trends in art and how those reflect the historical context. Because somehow, despite the fact that these composers lived in radically different circumstances than we do and wrote such different music from each other, there's a timelessness to their music that makes it very relatable to us today. For example, Mozart and Brahms rigorously studied the music of Bach, even though they lived 50 and 100 years after him, and their works sound very different from his, but they were still founded on the same principles that he was using and that he explored and developed. So all three composers and many more are still regularly performed in modern concert halls because their music still speaks to modern audiences. So my goal is that at the end of the course, you'll feel more confident in expressing your views on music, whether you attend a symphony concert or a piano recital or just listening to the radio. And most of all, I hope that we're going to be inspired together as we listen to music together. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and discussing music with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Geraldine. We're excited to have you. This sounds like a great class. So with that, we're going to go to Ray Jesland, who's going to talk about our genes, our future, and the revolution. Ray, I can't see you. You turn on your video and your microphone. There you are. I need your microphone. Can't hear you just yet. There we go. Great to have you, Ray.
Good morning. I'm sure you're all aware of the incredible revolution in biology that the world is experiencing. We can now understand the genes of any organism. We can change genes at will. And all of these new technologies raise social and ethical issues that the world has to be ready to deal with. And the goal of this course is to give you the tools to be able to understand what this technology is all about and to enter the discussion of how we're going to use these powerful and sometimes scary technologies. The first half of the course will deal with the basics under the assumption that with this current technology, you find your last biology class a little bit wanting. So we'll start out talking about DNA, genes, genomes, and we'll talk about how those genes are regulated, turned on and off via messenger RNA and proteins using the genetic code. We'll talk about technologies, DNA sequencing, PCR, which now is in the news because it's the way that COVID-19 is diagnosed. We'll talk about how genes are edited. But the biggest beneficiary of all this technology is medicine. We can now discover altered genes that cause disease, altered genes that increase our predisposition to this or that. We can now go into the era of personalized medicine, where therapies and diagnoses are based on an individual's particular gene organization. So that's what's ahead of us. So that's the basics that we'll cover. Don't be worried, it'll be at a pretty basic level. Second half of the course, we'll have 4 guests that will help us deal with the real world of genetics. First, we'll have Lynn Jordy, who is a discoverer of many genes, has a wonderful personal story about gene discovery. Dana Carroll is a pioneer in developing gene editing technology, and we will hear from him. And then finally, we'll have a discussion of ethical and social issues by 2 of the world leaders in bioethics, Peggy Batten and Jeff Botkin. We'll deal with such things as, do you want to know what your genes say? Privacy, who should know about what is in your genes? And where do we draw the line on gene editing? Do we edit genes to enhance humans? These genetic technologies are with us. We have to figure out how to deal with them. And I want to just leave you with the note. I'd like to thank all of those who made it possible for me to be here this morning. Thank you.
And we want to thank you too, Ray. You are like a leader in this field, and we're so lucky to have you teaching with us, and then to bring in Lynn and Peggy and the other presenters. Everyone, this is going to be an amazing course. We hope you sign up. With that, I'm going to take it over to Steve Hall, who's next on our list, and he's going to talk to us about World War II and Eastern Europe. You're muted on your end, Steve.
I bet I'm with you now.
You're with me now.
Okie doke. We will do this fall World War II in the East. It's the first of a trilogy that I do. The East, the West, we do in the winter, and the Pacific in the spring. We're going to talk about the topics that you see here. Most Westerners really have a very small, for lack of a better word, understanding of what happened in World War II in Eastern Europe. Our heritage is in the West. That's what we know. The first topic you see there, the roots of World War II, it used to not be in the pitch. But I was asked so many times, Steve, how could it happen? How could this happen? And the question is profound, and I thought it deserved a very good answer. So I built an entire presentation, the first one that talks about the rise of Nazi Germany and how the nation that gave us the marvelous things that it gave the world also produced World War II. At any rate, this is a subject for the fall. I've given it several times. I smile when I say that because people constantly tell me it's never the same. Steve, I have people who've watched it more than once. I think I had one person watch it more than twice, and they always say the topics are the ones that you've said, but it's never the same. You always change something. So I guess I do. For us, anyone who knows the way I do history, I'm interested that much in the what, I'm interested that much in the when. Osher audiences are interested that much in the why. We spend a lot of time on why did things happen the way they did, and I think it's a good way to look at history. I tell a lot of stories. I try to take the what's and the whens and the whys and turn them into stories. A correction, I don't turn anything into stories. I just take the stories that are there, and there's just many, and use those to make a point. So that's what we're going to do in the second half of the semester in the fall, World War II in the East, and then followed by the West and the Pacific in the winter and the spring, respectively. And that's what I have for you on that one, and we hope to see you there.
And then
we're doing something different just in a very short time. We are now sitting right on the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. We can't let that go by and not discuss it. How can we do that? By the way, I offered to present at the 100th anniversary of the end of World War II. Jill said, well, Steve, we'll pencil you in. I'm not sure if I should be concerned about being penciled in for the 100th anniversary as opposed to be written down in ink, but there might be a message there. I just choose not to think about it. We're going to do the last 30 days of the war, from the detonation of the bomb at the Trinity site on the 16th of July to the surrender ceremony, the surrender itself that took place on the 15th of August. I'm going to go at it a different way. I normally do by topic, but I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it a week at a time. This is what happened each week. And I'm glad I chose that. It's something new for me to present that way. And I came away with things that I didn't grasp when I dealt with it in terms of subject. So the 75th anniversary, the end of World War II, that's what we're going to talk about. I believe it's 9:30, that's the regular time. 9:15 is when pregame starts. On the 14th, which I believe is a Friday evening, as we say. And I certainly hope to see you there. We're going to have, by the way, I know people from coast to coast. We have people from California who are going to join us. I'm sorry, Carolina and California, lots of people around the country. I think you'll find it an interesting presentation. And Lauren, that's what I have, madam.
Thank you, Steve. And that link to register for next week's lecture should be coming out today. So watch your inboxes for that registration link. Thanks, Steve.
Great, thank you, ma'am.
Next, we have Stan and Diane Henderson, and they're going to talk to us about their course, History and Literature, The Invention of Wings.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Diane.
I'm Stan.
This course, the various versions of this course got started about 4 years ago, interestingly with this novel. I read literature, Stan reads history, and we happened to be reading in the same room, and I said to him as I finished the book, wow, it's amazing what you learn when you read historical fiction. And he looked down his long Henderson nose and said, well, you ought to try reading nonfiction. And so after we decided that we could still speak, I said, you know, maybe we ought to just get together and try and teach a course on this. So we've been doing these courses for about 6 years. And it's a combination of discussion and lecture. And I'm going to let Stan start with his part of the class.
So the lecture will be dealing with the history around the invention of wings, going back to the Constitutional Convention and moving up through the first half of the 19th century. I have found when I talk on Zoom that it is sometimes a little difficult to make sure that everybody is engaged. So what I try to do instead of simply doing dry facts is I talk about people. And I tell stories about some of the giants in history, like Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun and Daniel Webster and Andrew Jackson and the founders, and put it in more of a human context so that people have an understanding of some of the things that were going on and the dynamics of the people that were involved in this. We'll be talking about the rise of slavery and the changes in slavery. We'll be talking about the rise of the abolitionist movement, the desperate attempts to compromise and to make sure that civil war could be averted. And we'll also be talking a little bit about the suffragette movement, because it's very much tied into the people who are involved in Charleston, South Carolina, the Grimke sisters, and also with abolitionism. So it's what we try to do is to make it visual, to make it about stories rather than about dry facts.
And then after Stan presents that sort of background and sets the structure and the stage for it, then I'll lead the conversation about the novel. The novel was written by Sue Monk Kidd. The protagonist in the novel is Sarah Grimke, who was raised in an affluent home in South Carolina, in Charleston, South Carolina. And it begins with her being gifted with a slave for her 11th birthday. And then I will spend a little bit of time talking about the book and reviews and structure and something. And then we'll walk away from the PowerPoint and we'll have a conversation. We found out when we've started doing these classes by Zoom, it is possible to carry on a conversation so long as we all recognize that Zoom's not a face-to-face situation and we expect to have another great conversation. And I will tell you right now, we're coming to you from the state of Michigan. And our tie to the University of Utah is a son who got his PhD there some years ago, got married, had kids, and surprise, surprise, he stayed. So that's our connection to Utah. And one of these days we'll get to go back to Utah live, not just to teach for Osher live, but to see our kid and our grandkids. So we hope to see you at our class. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Stan and Diane. I love your class. The dynamic is wonderful, and this is going to be a great addition to the fall lineup. Thank you very much. Joining us via phone is Julie Howell. So Julie, I think we've got you with us, and you can tell us a little bit about your class, Everyday Mindfulness.
All right, thank you, Lauren. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in video to present, but we're having a little technical issues. But again, my name is Julie Howell. I am a certified mindfulness facilitator and also a member of the International Mindfulness Teacher Association. this topic is near and dear to my heart, and I have loved all my classes I teach at Osher. I've had such rich conversations and such curious minds that I really appreciate my experience teaching at Osher. This class is, I'm there as a teacher, but it's a really group-oriented class because everyone has something to participate in terms of what they are learning and practicing. This is a class about learning the concepts of mindfulness, how we can bring them into our everyday life, and then an actual mindfulness meditation practice. So we go down two different paths. Mindfulness has its roots from thousands of years ago, but is used now in our present day in a lot of different settings to help with things like stress reduction, can help with pain, it can help with mood, lots of different sort of scientifically backed benefits of a mindfulness practice. And I think particularly now in these past few months, as we've had to make adjustments and had maybe another little layer of stress added to our life, I think this would be a really opportune time to consider ways to bring a mindfulness practice into our life. We will have, there are readings that are sent for the class, so there is a little bit of homework for reading, and then also just some practice involved. We'll practice as a group together online, which is a really great way to be able to connect, even though we can't be present in person. So we can still practice and have a good group conversation and do all of that learning together. So I hope to see you in the class this fall. I am teaching 2 sections, and hope to see you there. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks so much, Julie. We're so lucky to have you teaching for us, and this is the magic of technology, that you were able to join us via phone and talk about your class. So thanks so much.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
So Sheila, my video won't work, but I'll keep chatting. We have Charlemagne in the Matter of France, taught by Gordon Jones. Gordon was here, and we're trying to get him back, but if we can't get him in this section, this is an amazing topic, and he does a fantastic job. He's taught this for us a couple of times, and it's always a treat. So check out Charlemagne. And with that, we're going to go on to Walter Jones. And Walter, why don't you share with us about your class, the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression? I don't have your video or your microphone. I can see you're with us, Walter.
Now can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yep.
Okay, the icon just came up. Now, can I put in a quick video?
I believe so, yep.
Okay, I see the screen for it. And I've got the video running. Well, maybe it's not running. Maybe I shouldn't try this. Can you still hear me?
We can still hear you, just can't see your screen.
Okay. Can you see that?
Nope. Why don't we have you talk?
All right. This isn't working. So I'm going to go out of that back to you.
Okay.
There. All right. Now, without the video, that's fine. But I am teaching a class on 2 periods of time back to back that are as different as any 2 times in American history. The 1920s, which were called the Roaring Twenties, or the Jazz Age, and then the Great Depression, which was totally opposite of the 20s in many ways. But what I'd like to do with this class is I would like to show some of the history of the people involved and the events. Sadly, the 1920s had the seeds of the 1930s, but those were ignored because so many great things were happening. But when it all came to a crash, which was the stock market, which basically stimulated the beginning of the whole Depression, I would like to talk about how Herbert Hoover attempted to end the Depression, but he couldn't do much. Then Franklin Roosevelt took over, and I'd like to talk about his programs. Franklin Roosevelt had one thing that was really unique to our history, and I think people would appreciate that. He had Eleanor, a great support to him, despite the fact that he had had an affair with another woman and she found out about it, which sadly ended their intimacy, but she supported him politically for the rest of his career and went on to have a career of her own. But the 20s and the 30s, to me, brings to mind a quote from the novel by Charles Dickens, the Tale of Two Cities, the best of times, the worst of times, the spring of hope and the winter of despair. And I'd like to show you how those two periods absolutely reflect that sort of quote. And that's all I have without my slides, but I'm looking forward to this class. And it's on Monday mornings, a great way to start Mondays, 9:30 a.m. And I'm hoping to have a really good PowerPoint presentation. But as you can see from today, I'm going to have to learn more about the prompts because they did not work today.
We'll walk you through it, Walter. That's what you've got Osher staff for.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Walter won't say this, but he provides so much great information in class. You will learn so much on the 20s and the Great Depression if you take this class.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So with that, we're going to go to David Keys, and David's going to talk to us about fall prevention and balance improvement. Have you with us, David?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. I don't see your video. Oh, there you are. Great.
Oh, okay. What a miracle. Good morning. It's nice to be back to offer this class in a little different format than I've done in the past. However, as you know, balance has become a major problem and falling has become a major problem in the country. And there are specific reasons for that, which we'll talk about in the first class. But first of all, if you're falling for no apparent reason, I really encourage you to go and get that checked out because that should never happen in our lives. I take a three-pronged approach to this whole area. The first one is using balance exercises and improving our balance through that, through a little bit of Tai Chi. This is not a Tai Chi class. And then in a format called Shibashi, which is a blend of Qigong, which I've spent a lot of time teaching in previous classes, and Tai Chi. And then the second level that we look at is strength. And so we'll work on very easy ways to improve ankle strength and leg strength. And then the third leg of this is flexibility, which we won't focus on specifically, but everything that we do improves our flexibility. And those three things together will improve your chances for not falling. Now, I can't guarantee that you will never fall, but when you do, if you're really doing those three things consistently every day to some small extent, like a minute for balance exercises, I can promise you that if you fall, it will not be as bad and that you'll recover quicker. And I've had a lot of students that will come up after class or even in class and say, wow, you know, I slipped on the ice on a recent snowstorm and I could tell a huge difference in the way that I was able to fall and in my recovery. And just to kind of wrap up, let me give you an experience that I had just a few weeks ago. I tend to be a little bit of a klutz, apparently, in walking and jogging. And I was just about home, so I was more embarrassed that the neighbors saw me than anything. But I've gone back to the sidewalk to try to find what caused me to trip and fall. Still can't find it. But in any case, I knew that I tripped, I started to fall forward, I came down on my knees and then on my wrists, and then I could just tell from the momentum of the fall that my head was going to hit the sidewalk. And there was nothing that I could do about that. So after that hit, I, of course, was a little stunned. And then the next thought was, I bet there's blood all over the floor, all over the sidewalk. So I slowly pulled my forehead up and, you know, touched and checked, no blood. And the really cool thing was that it was the most balanced fall that I've ever taken. I came down on my knees exactly in the same place in both sides. On my wrists, just a little bit of road rash on each side, and then just a tiny little bit of road rash on my forehead. And when I told a couple of people that that had happened, they said, "Oh, you're going to be so sore tomorrow." But the fact of the matter was that I have the flexibility. I have put myself in those positions before, and I was great. So I really can, you know, kind of testify to the fact that this really works. So I hope that if you're still not convinced that all of us need to work on balance improvement every day, that you'll ask your doctor if this class is right for you. And I bet he or she says yes. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And David stays up to date on all of this. He's always taking more training so he can share new information with us. So thank you for all you do for Osher, David.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to take it over to Mary. She is our in-house jewelry expert. So Mary, share with us what we're going to learn in jewelry and art.
Thank you, Lauren, and good morning, everybody. This is going to be a really fun class for me. If you, I'm a docent at the Utah Museum of Fine Arts, and originally I conceived this class to be partly jewelry making because I am a jeweler. The art that is in our paintings and actual art that we have in the museum too. But now, because we have the pandemic, we are going to drop that hands-on part, which I will absolutely miss. But in its place, we have a lot of other jewelry we can explore because the UMFA has a ton of jewelry in its archives. Off-site, no one's really ever seen it, but it's there. And the beauty of using technology to essentially give a tour or a class at this point is that we have access to that. And a gallery at the museum. So we're going to take a deeper dive into some of the topics that we talked about, a deeper dive into antiquities, a much deeper look into kind of the way Renaissance artists really harkened back to antiquities. We're going to take a very broad look at contemporary jewelry. And as always, just threading through the entire thing, you know, I always invite people to talk about their jewelry. Jewelry is something we all wear. It's something that typically, and so I love to just have robust conversations about family pieces you may have inherited, a cameo that you might have, your engagement ring, your grandma's engagement ring. Any of those stories I think are always so interesting to share. So in the 3 weeks that we're together, we will have plenty of time to both look at history and our own pieces, and also, of course, take just a really, really good, strong look at the UMFA's collection, which I don't know that we will ever see live, but definitely even the pictures of it are pretty spectacular. So I hope you can join me coming up in October.
Thanks so much, Mary. I know it's going to be a great class. And we have Ann Terry with us, and she's going to talk about her class, Exploring the Jordan River.
Hello, everyone. So I'm our Nature Center Manager for Tracy Aviary. If you're not familiar with Tracy Aviary, we are a bird zoo located in Liberty Park, but we just started a second location, our Jordan River Nature Center, which is in South Salt Lake on 3300 South, right on the river. It's in James Madison Park. So it's a second location. It's a smaller location. We're calling it our transition campus right now. We have plans to build it out. It won't be a bird zoo, but it will be a place where people can connect with the Jordan River and access the Jordan River Trail. And eventually we want to have canoes for people to actually get into the river. But we found that a lot of people don't know very much about the Jordan River. And so we created this Osher course. We've done this course in the past. It was all in person. This year we are doing a smaller class size so that we can still have some in-person element. We will be outdoors with masks on, but it's going to alternate between being an online lecture and then an in-person walk on the Jordan River Trail. We'll meet at the Nature Center, and it's a pretty easy walk if you haven't been on the trail before. It's mostly flat. There are some bumps where tree roots have messed with the trail, but for the most part, really easy to navigate, and that will allow us to introduce you to some of the plants and animals of the Jordan River. As the slide says, we're going to be talking a little bit about riparian ecosystems, but we also really want to talk about people's connection to the river. So historically, over time, how people have used the Jordan River. We'll even go as far back as how the river formed in the first place. So it's a lot of fun, and I hope you can join us. Thanks.
Thanks, Anne. And it's beautiful scenery with a lot of great information. We're really glad to be working with you on this class. Thank you very much. We missed 2 lectures by Harry Cachette. Harry wasn't able to join us today. He's on the road, but he is teaching Changing Your Brain for Spiritual and Personal Growth, and the Brain, Emotional Style, Meditation, and Well-Being. Harry is a great instructor and very good at studying this and understanding the brain, sharing tips he's learned, studies he's come across. He is just a great resource for us. He's taught this class consistently for us online. He does a great job with it. And you'll be happy that you signed up to spend this time, these 9 hours with Harry, either in Changing Your Brain or with the Brain, Emotional Style, and Meditation and Well-Being. He's teaching 1 class in session A and 1 class in session B. So one that starts in August and one that starts in October or November. With that, we're going to wrap up. We have a lot of great information. I think this is a great testament of seeing how much people have to share and how much information you're going to get in your classes. So thank you all for joining us. If we didn't get a chance to answer your question during class, feel free to email us and then check out the website at osher.utah.edu. That's where you'll find more information about classes. And really thank you for being with us. We hope you'll join us tomorrow. We have more great instructors that are going to share what they're teaching. Thank you for everything, and we'll see you in class.